Well, greetings everyone, and welcome to another special edition of Movie Goodness here on the KB Radio Network. It's special because today we're going to review the first season of Disney Plus Marvel Studios Ms. Marvel, which wrapped up this past Wednesday on Disney Plus. And I enjoyed this show. This is a pleasant surprise coming from Marvel. We needed this. We needed this so bad. Before we jump into the review of Ms. Marvel, I'm gonna give you my thoughts of the Disney Plus shows thus far. I have an episode where I attempt to break down Phase 4 thus far, and the disappointments and what's going on over there in Marvel Studios, or what are we doing? What are we doing moving forward? And right on time, they answered my question. Well, somewhat. I still have a lot of questions about Phase 4. I mean, a lot. This is just something to kind of I guess shut a lot of people up, what they did with this show, because this is a really, really good show. I really, really enjoyed it. Running through the MCU Disney Plus edition, you had WandaVision, which was great, but WandaVision was dark. It had dark subject matter. I mean, not rated R subject matter of violence and sex and gore. I'm talking like storyline dark, with everything going on with Wanda Maximoff and her mental state. And it wasn't happy and bubbly at all. Now, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed that show. It ranks up there as one of my favorite Disney Plus shows, but it has a lot of dark subject matter around it. You move on to Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It is what it is. It's not the best, but I think they did the best they could with those two characters, because honestly, those two characters aren't what I would think of as far as a show moving forward. Them having their own show. And I think they was grasping at straws there. But I watched it. It was pretty decent. It was up and down, a lot of downs, but it had some ups. What If was good, but once again, there's nothing but dark subject matter. It wasn't happy and bubbly. Loki wasn't happy and bubbly. It was fun. I enjoyed it. But it wasn't Marvel, It wasn't first three phases of Marvel. But it was just dark. And then we get what was the next one? We had Hawkeye. Hawkeye wasn't dark. It didn't have dark subject. Well, a subplot. It had a dark subplot, but it for the most part it was happy and cheery. Moon Knight was dark, and then we move on into Ms. Marvel, and it was just a breath of fresh air. It's a coming of age show. It is clearly targeted to teenagers or younger, and it's a young person's show, and I enjoyed it for that. It was a change of pace that we really needed, because aside from the shows that's on Disney Plus, even the movies, the movies in the past couple of years, Black Widow, Eternals, Doctor Strange, and Thor. Thor wasn't dark, but they had a dark subplot with Jane Foster dying from cancer, but that's neither here nor there. Spider-Man No Way Home was kind of dark if you count what happened to Aunt May. But it was Nothing was really, with the exception of a couple of them. It's been really, really doom and gloom in the MCU. So to have a origin story like this with this teenage girl getting powers, discovering herself along with her powers, and it was awesome, man, and a great change of pace. And I'm so excited for not just the MCU moving forward, but for this character moving forward. I've become a fan of the character of Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel, and I want to see more. I want to see more of Ms. Marvel going forward. And this is what you do when you're introducing new characters into this big universe, this cinematic universe that you've established. And this was the best way to do it. And I'm excited. We got new characters prior, and they didn't do it like this. The Eternals, I'm not excited for the Eternals moving forward. Actually, I don't even know how they fit in to the MCU. After watching that movie, it doesn't. I don't see where they fit. Shang-Chi, I can see where he fits. I'm excited for him moving forward. But that's about it. Off the top of my head, I can't think of anybody else I'm excited for. I'm not really Moon Knight. I don't know where you're going with that. Where does that fit in the MCU? So, but with Miss Marvel, I can clearly see her fitting in to the rest of the MCU. Her going out on adventures with other members of the Avengers or whoever in the MCU right now. And it was all set up with this show. Now you can just throw her into another film and it's cool. We could just slide on in and we rolling. But let's get into this show. Let's get into the first season of Miss Marvel. I'm not going to go episode by episode. Mainly, I'm going to be talking a lot about the last episode because that's the only one that matters. But overall, I would say my overall thoughts, this was the best Disney Plus Marvel show they've put out yet. Up to this point, prior to this show being released, WandaVision was my favorite. But this show leaps and bounds overtakes it. That's not to say that WandaVision is bad. That doesn't change my opinion about WandaVision. WandaVision was a well-constructed show. But this show was better. You can't compare the two because they're obviously two different shows, two different characters, stories, and everything else. But everything about this show, I truly, truly enjoyed. The family aspect of it, the representation was so beautifully displayed. I think I mentioned that, but yeah, it was great. And the number one thing is Iman Vellani in her portrayal as Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. To say that this young lady, this is her first role. This is her first role, and she knocked it out the park. You would honestly think throughout this show that she's been acting for 10 years, but she did a marvelous job. I don't know if it was slick editing or whatever it was to hide that she was struggling at time, but I didn't see it. She did an awesome job. Iman Vellani she was born to play Kamala Khan. When you see certain characters certain actors as certain characters, and you can say, man, they were born to play that role. Robert Downey Jr. was born to be Tony Stark. You get what I'm going? It's just like that. She was born to play this role, and she nailed it. I'm so impressed with her. Once again, the representation, which is so important today in these times, is important at any time. But to see a Pakistan, well, she's playing a Pakistani American, but actually she's a Canadian, Pakistani Canadian, but it doesn't matter. In any event, to see the representation of that culture on screen brought me so much joy. You know, you think you know everything. You think you know enough about certain things that you can navigate through the world. But when you see other cultures, other groups of people, and how they operate through life, and you have this perception of how they are. We all victims of it, and not in the evil way, but it just you don't know. You can only go by what you see on TV or what you reading on the internet or something crazy like that. Because you haven't been there. I've never been to Pakistan. I don't know too many Pakistani people, and so I can only go by what I see on television. And to see that these group of people live their lives like me and you, and it's like, I don't know, a part of me was like embarrassed because I didn't know that they just have a normal life. It's not that I always looked at them like, oh yeah, they different from me, like certain other people do when they see somebody that's not their color. But I'm saying, as far as, I really never gave it much thought. And then when the show, while watching this on this show, I'm like, wow, they do things, man, they just like normal, and they normal. They go to mosque, and you think because you look at the media and how they depict these things, and you think they're in there planning bombs or something, planning how to be terrorists or something like that. But they're in there, they're just normal people. I go to church every week, and they have kids on the phones in church. They have kids not even paying it. They, joking and playing with the other kids in church. I did it when I was a kid in church, And then a mosque, I'm thinking a mosque is real, militant. But it's the same thing. They're in there playing on the phones. They're talking to the other kids and stuff. I'm like, oh, they go to church like we go to church. It's just little things, like stuff you don't think about. It's not like, I just want to clear it up, because I wasn't thinking that they were different to the fact like they were evil or something like that. I just never thought about it. And now that that's been shown, I'm like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. This is so beautiful. I get to see different cultures. Even when they actually went to Pakistan on a couple of episodes, and to see how they are in Pakistan, and they're just living their lives like everybody else. You look at it on the news, you think overseas in the Middle East, you'll think it's like a war-torn countries everywhere. Everybody's living in huts and stuff like that. That's how movies depict this stuff. But you watch this show, and it's just shown beautifully, and it was great. I honestly, I tip my hat to Marvel, to Disney, to the showrunners of this show for showing that. And this is what it's meant when you hear people talk about representation. This is what it means. Great job. Great job. I learned a lot. I learned a lot about the partition, which I've heard about, but I never researched it or anything like that. I didn't know what took place, because I've seen Gandhi, but they only showed it that was years ago when I saw Gandhi, but and I barely remember it because there's one of those movies too. That's a long movie that didn't keep my attention span, but yeah, I heard about it and I never really researched it, but for them to talk about it so much on this show and actually show it on the show, what took place back then. I don't have the date in front of me. I'm pretty sure all of you who listening probably know, or y'all can research it. And it was a history lesson, and I'm a history buff, so I love to, be taught new things and to know what actually went on with that and why it actually happened, why the split took place from India and everything. I'm like, oh wow, that's pretty messed up. I didn't know that. I didn't know why that was the way it was, how these countries came to be like this. You know what I'm saying? So it was a history lesson as well. So it gets points for that, for teaching me something. Another good point about this show, it felt real. This show felt real. And what helped it feel real is something that I mentioned earlier, family. The family aspect of this was so awesome. The Khan family, Kamala's family, her mother, her father, her brother, everything about that was just chef's kiss. Mwah. I loved it. I loved the dynamic. I loved that the mother was overprotective because of how rebellious she was when she was a teenager. She didn't want her daughter to go the same route that she went and had resentment towards her mother or anything like that. She was just scared for her. She didn't want her child to be hurt, like most parents are. Good parents. You can say most of them, but good parents are. You're real protective of your children because you don't want your children to make the same stupid mistakes we made when we were younger. But your children look at it as you being a dictator, but in the long run they'll figure it out. But it is shown here, the dad being supportive and at the same time being a dad. The brother being the brother, how he is with his faith and how devout of a Muslim he is, and and him getting married, him being worried that he doesn't have enough money to support his wife, and things like that, but still being a good big brother to Kamala. Yes, that was excellent. It's speaking of the Muslim aspect, loved the depiction of the Muslims in America. Absolutely loved it, because once again, we're coming from an age for the past 20 years. It didn't die down some now, but you remember, the early 2000s when Muslims was like public enemy number one. You see a Muslim and you clench your purse or something. But now you kind of eased up on it. But it's good to see how they fit into America, how they feel, and them being self-aware that they're always being watched. One of the men at the mosque was talking. It was in one of the episodes, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what he said, but they were having a conversation about the damage control coming to raid the mosque, and one of the characters was trying to warn the people in the mosque, and they, one of the guys there, he was like, well, we always being watched. We've been watched. They always watching the mosque. And it was like a gut punch, really, because it was like, oh, man, that's messed up. He ain't lying. They are. They constantly watching them. And they always got to live like that because of what happened. One bad apple spoiled the bunch. Because one group of Muslims did something idiotic, all of them have to suffer, just like in all cultures. I was about to just go on a rant about black culture, but it's all cultures. But anyway, I loved that depiction of the Muslims, and truly, they got more respect from me. They always did, but even now they have even more respect from me. I also loved the creative visual style of this show. I think it was nothing new what they were showing, how they did certain things, but it was the way it was thrown in. When Kamala was texting her friend Bruno in certain episodes, and how the text would show up in graffiti on a building or pattern on her sheet or bed sheets and stuff like. It was just cute little ways to show that they were texting without showing you the phone, showing them what you on the phone, what they were texting. It was just cool little visual styles when she would lay out her plan, how she was going to sneak out the house and go to Avengers Con. I think that was the first episode, and it was like a sketchboard where she was, but it was live action. She's doing the things, but everything behind her was animated, and it was just, it was great. I loved how they did that. Now they did that, going into my negatives of the show, and it's not that many. That was really showcased in like the first 3 episodes, and it kind of teetered off going towards the end, especially in the last couple of episodes, and it was like it was uneven tone. Definitely an uneven tone. The first half of the season was coming of age, young adult style show, and then it went into this history kind of dark story, a little dark storyline with the grandmother or the great grandmother, and she's a celestial or a clandestine, and all that there. It was a definite tone shift. And on to the last episode, the season finale that took place last week, it turned into a punchy superhero battle, so it was kind of uneven there, and it will throw you off, but they were good episodes. It wasn't like it was uneven with good, bad, good, bad, bad, good. It wasn't like that. They were all good. They were just different from the first half. So it kind of threw you off a little bit, but at least threw me off. But I'm not really mad at the show for that. But I was really excited on how we were first introduced in those first 3 episodes. Speaking of the first 3 episodes, this isn't necessarily negative towards the show per se, but it's more or less a negative towards Disney Plus for when they release this series. This show was released at the same time on Disney Plus as Obi-Wan Kenobi. And when I say the same time, Obi-Wan Kenobi came out about 3 weeks before, I think. But they came out on Wednesdays. And the last 3 episodes of Obi-Wan came out on the same day as the first 3 episodes of Ms. Marvel. And I think that was a bad move. I honestly think that was a bad move because the show, ratings wise, didn't do too good. And I'm talking about Ms. Marvel. It did not do too good. But yet it is still the highest rated show as far as critics are concerned ever. Out of all the shows, it is the highest rated. It has a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I would love to talk to those 2% that didn't like this show. But anyways, it is a detriment to the show that they did it this way, and I don't know why they did it this way. The only thing, not the only thing. I have two things that possibly could be the reason why. Number one, they wanted to hurry up and get it out before the end of the summer, or should I say, before Comic-Con, because Comic-Con is this week or next week. I can't remember. I think it's this week. Well, anyway, I know it's coming up within the next week or two. So they wanted to get that out before Comic-Con. Now, I said a couple of reasons, but I think that's the only reason. And the reason behind that is, this is why I said a couple of reasons. The reason I feel that is the reason is because they have a big announcement at Comic-Con. And the big announcement may pertain to what happened at the end of Ms. Marvel. Now, I didn't mention this at the beginning of the show, but by now I hope and pray that y'all realize that I'm going to spoil it. So if you haven't watched Ms. Marvel and you don't want to be spoiled, this is your warning. If you don't care, let's roll. At the end of Ms. Marvel, well, let me say this. In the comic books, Ms. Marvel got her powers from the Terrigen Mist, or Terrigen Mist, which is how Inhumans get their powers. Now, for everybody who is not up to speed on your comic book reading, let me help you out here. Inhumans have, they had a show on ABC. It only lasted one season, and it was horrible. And it was not connected to the MCU. They hurry up and cleared that up. This is nothing to do with the MCU. Despite the fact, the actor who played Black Bolt on that show is the same actor who played Black Bolt in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Granted, that was a different dimension or universe, but I digress. Inhumans are not a part of the MCU proper, put it that way. So we're not going that route. Hence, Kamala doesn't have that power set. That's why her powers are more cosmic kind of, and not like it is in the comics where her body actually stretches, that she has embiggen powers. On the show is more of cosmic how she stretches. She doesn't stretch, but the little whatever you want to call it, that stretches. So at the end of the episode, the season finale, Bruno reveals to Kamala that he was looking into her DNA, and he saw something different. Her powers don't come from being a descendant of a clandestine. Well, that's partially the reason, but the other reason is it's something about her DNA. Something mutated. And to hear the word mutation in the MCU, Marvel show, Marvel movie, Marvel anything, I mean, it sent chills throughout my body. It's sending chills. Now I can barely talk. It's sending chills through me right now. Finally, we are acknowledging mutants in the MCU. I know everybody's going to gravitate towards Patrick Stewart being Charles Xavier in Doctor Strange. Once again, that's a different universe, different dimension, whatever it was. And it doesn't count. In the MCU proper, they have never acknowledged mutants. And we've been waiting ever since Disney bought Fox. Hence, buying the rights of the X-Men, of Fantastic Four, of all those characters returning to Marvel. We've been waiting for the announcement of the X-Men. We got the announcement of Fantastic Four. That's coming soon. But they have yet to mention mutants, X-Men, none of that. And we finally got it. My God, I almost bust out in tears when he said it. So I'm like, okay. So technically, Miss Marvel is a mutant. Now, to go completely geek on you, complete nerd, let me go back a little bit. Now, Wanda Maximoff technically is a mutant, but they have pretty much retconned that, and she's not, because in the comic books, Wanda Maximoff and her brother are the children of Magneto. So we haven't gotten that. That's over and done with. Now, on WandaVision now that it's all coming back to me. See, I'm going down this rabbit hole, but I'm gonna try to get out of it. On WandaVision, we did see Petro, who was portrayed in the X-Men films by Evan Peters. He appeared on the show as Quicksilver. So that kind of was a hint to it, but once again, technically, that wasn't in our universe. So this is just a chiseled in stone here. We officially have a mutant in the MCU. So that opens the door. Yeah, I've been crying for this for the longest. I on my previous show when I was talking about the MCU, I don't know where we're going moving forward. I don't know what's going on. Now I know. Now I see a vision. I see that they're actually setting something up. We have mutants. And here's my theory. At Comic-Con, they're going to announce X-Men in some fashion. Now, I don't know if it's coming soon. I doubt it. Now, there were reports that they've talked to a couple of actors about being Wolverine, but that hasn't been confirmed by nobody. That's just internet rumors and stuff. But whatever the case may be, I don't care. I'm just praying that I live long enough to see it. But I'm excited that door has been opened. Speaking of doors opening, the final post-credit scene, we see Kamala. She's in her room. She's laying on her bed. All of a sudden, the bangle on her wrist starts to glow, and she gets zapped. And sucked into the closet, it looked like. Or it could have been a portal. It must have been a portal. Because all of a sudden, Carol Danvers steps out. Yes, Brie Larson herself steps out as Captain Marvel. And she's, despondent. She don't know how did I get here? What is going on? It's like they switched places. So, and then she runs out the room and it cuts to black and we get the text, Miss Marvel will return in the Marvels. And that has already been filmed, actually, because I looked it up. It already been filmed and it will be released early next year, the film, The Marvels. And that's going to feature Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel, and Proton, who we saw in WandaVision. And so now we are heating up. It took forever. It took 1,000,001 shows and movies to get there, but Phase 4 is finally looking like we got some direction. I can see a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel. So we've arrived. But I am I can honestly tell y'all, I am super excited for what's moving forward, and I am pleasantly surprised and happy about this show. Caught me off guard. Wasn't expecting it to be this good. I just thought it was going to be a show, you know, because I didn't know much about Ms. Marvel. Didn't read much of her comics. I only saw maybe a couple of issues that she was in, but never a solo issue of hers. But didn't know the backstory that much. I know a little bit about it, but I never really followed the character. But man, I think that helped me enjoy this show even more, because they made so many changes, you know, with me going back and finding out more about Ms. Marvel in the comics. They changed a lot, but I think the changes that they made helped this character even more. So my overall grade for the first season, and I don't know, I keep saying first season, I don't know if they're going to do a second one. I know the next time we see Ms. Marvel will be in the movie, The Marvels, but I don't know after that if we're going to get another season or not. I pray that we do, because I really enjoyed this show. My grade for Ms. Marvel season 1 gets a letter grade of an A-. I think it is one of the best shows that Marvel has put out on Disney Plus, and I'm excited, finally excited for the MCU moving forward. Never thought I would say them words, especially coming off of Thor, Love and Thunder just this past week here. So it's like, because I thought it was looking bleak, people. It was looking real bleak. I needed this. We needed this. Thank you, God. So that's my thoughts on Ms. Marvel season 1. What are your thoughts? Did you enjoy Ms. Marvel? It was a good show. It was really a good show. It caught me off guard. If you haven't watched the show, look, get Disney Plus. If you have Disney Plus, what you waiting on? Check out Ms. Marvel. Please, it is great. But what are your thoughts? If you have seen it, let me know, because I love to know. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. Also, look us up on social media. Just look up the KB Radio Network. You can leave us a comment or a message on those media platforms, and let me know how you felt about the about that show and this show. Also, wherever you're listening to this current show, don't forget to leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. It helps the show out tremendously. Everybody, man, I'm so happy. I'm so happy for the MCU. We needed this. I mean, it wasn't earth-shattering. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't clear up all the problems from Phase 4. Actually, it don't even clear up a big percentage. But, man, at least it's something. At least we got something moving forward. I'm feeling confident now. Okay, come on, Kevin Feige. We rolling. Let's keep it going. We still have She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, that comes out next month on Disney Plus, and Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, that comes out in November. So it's not over this year. We still have some things this year to look forward to, and maybe that's going to open the door for more stories and what exactly is going on in the MCU. So everybody, it's been an honor, privilege, and joy to talk to you today. Can't wait to speak to you again. Want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love one another, and until we speak again, you all be blessed.